Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Love Her podcast.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome to episode 8. We are so excited to be back here. We're almost at episode 10. Can you believe it?
We were just saying, Nyia and I, that maybe we should do something special for the 10th episode, maybe try to do in person, but then we were like, retrograde. I don't want to be traveling during that time.
Yeah, and honestly, we realized maybe we shouldn't be doing anything but taking care of ourselves during retrograde.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a time of rest. And I think something that I've learned is we have to have times of intense growth and rapid movement, but we also have times where it's just slow and we should rest and we should kind of take a look at what's going on in our lives. And that really is the ebb and flow of the journey. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, actually.
Yeah, and I know that a lot of times in our episodes we talk about our healing and our healing journey that we're on. And although it is such a beautiful thing and something that we like to reflect on and speak very positively about, there are definitely ebbs and flows in the healing journey. I remember seeing this TikTok of somebody pouring water, and it was like, this is how you heal. You pour the water and the glass is still half full. You keep pouring the water and the glass is still half full. And then once it gets to the top, you think that you should be fully healed, but you're still not all the way there. And that's just kind of the explanation of the journey that it is. It's a never-ending journey of healing and growing. And that's kind of what we want to talk about this week.
Yeah, and before we get into a little bit of the heavier topic, not that it's super heavy, but it is very real. I did want to kind of ask you, Nyia, what is your rosebud and thorn of the week? And for anyone listening, if you don't know what that is, the rose is something that was great that happened that you're grateful for. The bud is something that you're looking forward to, and the thorn is something that maybe you want to improve on.
So, my rose this week actually is the fact that one of my TikToks went viral. Do you remember I was telling you about that? So, I posted
Yes.
a TikTok. Guys, I am 4'11", under 5 foot. For months and months and months, Mackenzie was pushing me to get a booster seat. I completely was like, I am not doing that. How dare you even say that I need one? However, I ended up giving in, and it has been life-changing for me. I can actually see all the curbs. I don't hit any of the curbs on the road. I'm a much better driver now. So I posted about it, and I talked about it on my TikTok. And I cracked a joke the other day saying, I really pissed off the shorties. Because I'm one of the shorties, because it just brought so many people together. Some people were saying that they had never thought about getting a booster seat for themselves because they do really struggle to see over the steering wheel. Other people were like, how I was in the beginning, I'm not doing that. And so it was just really cool to see and to feel what it's like to kind of put out a piece of advice out there and just to see how people react and kind of give your feedback and crack jokes. And it kind of really gave me a sense of what it's like to be an influencer, which felt really, really cool. So that's been my rose this week. A bud, and you said bud is something that you're looking forward to
Yes.
in the week or in general?
In general, whatever you're feeling.
Okay, I think I'm most looking forward to our trip to Peru.
Yeah.
Last weekend, we finally finalized all of the flights and the details for the trip. So going into this week, that is at the forefront of my mind of what outfits am I bringing? What are we going to do? And I know that there was another trip that just wrapped up similar to ours for the group of women that we kind of work alongside. And they just came back from Costa Rica. So I've been kind of watching them and just getting really excited about that. And then Thorn, right? Something that I want to work on. I really just feel like I want to work on taking in criticism. This kind of goes into what I realized just even getting one viral video. I've noticed this with influencers that they talk about this often, that it's hard not to harp on the comments of people that are rude and disrespectful. And when you're getting hundreds and hundreds of positive comments or people really thanking you for your advice or whatever you've put out there, it's also really hard to not harp on the ones that are being very negative. And I think that I told you guys of my story in my episode that I grew up in a very critical household, and the criticism was so much more intense than somebody just saying this is where I think you can do better. It was, oh, you messed up this is everything else that comes along with it. So in my adult years, I think I realized that criticism is still very hard for me to take because I still go back to that child that had all of those harsh punishments after the criticism came, and I'm still kind of in that mode of like wanting to fix a situation when you can't fix everything, especially when you're just being human and you're living life. So that's definitely something I want to work on, and something I realize that I want to bring up in therapy for myself is to really take criticism as constructive versus somebody trying to knock me down, or, you know, really taking all of the negative things and harping on those versus the positive things. So yeah, those are mine. What are yours?
What are people hating on about a booster seat, though?
You will be surprised. Like, some people are like, get this off of my timeline. Like, how dare you tell me I need a booster seat? Like, you know, just like little things like that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, should I have not have said anything? But you just, people are going to be people at the end of the day. And I'm trying so hard to like not overthink every little comment and every little thing. And the video now has like 700 comments. So it's nearly impossible to read all of them. But I still find myself going to it and being like, what are people saying, you know? So,
Oh my god, that's so funny.
no, people are so offended by a booster seat. I'm like, I rebutted and like posted a video saying like, look, argue with your mom and not me. Like, I didn't make you short. So I've also made a joke out of a lot of it, which has also been fun. And then I've actually even met people through it, like other creators that have reached out to me. So that's been fun. And it is definitely something that's been motivating me to want to do it more and put out more of my life hacks, because I have about 30 million that I have up my sleeve. But yeah.
That is so funny. I love the booster seat. When I saw it for the first time, I just could not stop laughing.
I do remember, because at first I wasn't telling people about it, and then you got my car and I was like, oh yeah, sorry, I got a booster seat. It's definitely
But
fun.
okay, I think my rose, bud, and thorns. My rose is definitely that we got a puppy. We pick him up on Saturday. He is an 8 week old golden retriever puppy. I'm so, so, so excited. We've been wanting a dog for a really long time,
Yeah.
and it just really works out with me working from home. And Luke works from home 3 days a week, and we live in a super dog friendly area. So I'm so excited. So I'll have to feature him on the next episode.
I am
And
so excited.
he's a widow.
He's
Um,
so cute.
he's so cute. And then my thorn, something I think that I am going to try to work on is structuring my days a little bit better. Usually I'm pretty good at routine and, working in a way that allows me to be efficient. But I feel like lately I've just been having a lot of new things thrown at me and a lot of new
Hmm.
responsibilities. And also, especially with getting the puppy, I obviously want to be able to take him out all the time, take care of him. And so I really want to work on structuring my days better just so that everything gets done efficiently and that I still have time to have fun and do all the things I want to do. And then something I'm looking forward to. What's something well, obviously Peru. I'm obviously looking forward to that. It's going to be absolutely amazing. But I think just as more simple thing is with it getting nicer out, being able to spend more time outside, it just makes every day so much better and happier, and I'm really looking forward to springtime here in Charlotte.
Yeah, what time does it get dark there?
Now it's been like 7, but it's about to be daylight savings this weekend.
Right. That was
So,
another thing. That's another thing I was gonna say. It just feels happier when you like, because for me, because I go into the office 3 days a week. When I come home from work, sometimes I don't get home until 5:36, and then I only have an hour of sunlight. And I'm like, do I want to eat dinner or do I want to go on a walk right now? Like, I have to pick one. So, and it's gonna be so exciting that now we have even more sunlight, because sunlight is the light. We love the light. It feeds us.
we need it.
Right. And I can't believe you're becoming a mom.
I know. I have his little station set up. And it's so funny because On the outside, you would think that I'd be the strict parent and Luke would be the lovey, soft one. And I'm like, no, I'm buying this dog everything. He's got so many toys already, so many bones. I'm ready to spoil him. I got him a little wagon so we can take him everywhere.
It's so cute. You're gonna have to send me the stuff that you got for him because I'm so
I
excited.
will.
I would love to get a dog. We just travel too much for it. So I'm going to be living through you. And if you ever need a dog sitter, we will be happy to dog sit. Mackenzie loves Goldens. She loves golden doodles, but she also loves golden retrievers. She usually likes golden doodles more because they don't shed as much, but she's like, they're just the best dogs. And I'm like, yeah,
No,
they
no,
really
golden
are.
doodles can be crazy though. That's why we didn't get them because they
Right.
can be crazy.
No, they have the zoomies for sure. Well, I'm so excited for you. So that's so good to hear that we both kind of have recognized our ebbs and flows in the midst of our healing. Because I think it's so important that we value all aspects of the healing journey as we go through it, and that we recognize that for other people that are maybe looking to us to see how far we've come, where we still have to go, and where we hope to be in the future. Going into this year, I've definitely realized within the last 3 years, there's so much that I just have to reflect on, you know?
Yeah, and I think that also as women, there is beauty in the cycle of it, and that's something that I've really leaned into recently is when you think about our bodies physically, us women literally operate in cycles because we
Yeah.
have our menstrual phase and then we ovulate. So there's constant change happening in our bodies, and the same thing is going to happen in our healing and spiritual journeys. It really is always going to be a phase. And so, something that I've learned is that if you're having a hard time, don't resist it.
Yeah.
Actually, sort of lean into the emotions of it and the lessons of it, because that's going to allow you to get to the other side. The more you resist those difficult periods, actually, the harder it becomes and the harder it is for you to achieve those lessons that you're meant to learn.
Yeah, and that's something that I've had to learn in my own healing journey. So I love that you brought that up because every single time I'm having a rough day, I so quickly want to go back to, oh, like, why does this keep happening? But one thing our life coach always brings up to me is, when this is brought up, that's a good thing. That's your body telling you, that's the universe telling you that you still have this area to work on. And there's still this little aspect of you that you need to explore. And when exploring that, it becomes easier to maneuver through it as you continue through the journey. Because I mean, like we said in our stories, this was 20 years worth of events that have occurred and things that we've had to go through. So we've been on this journey for what, maybe 1 to 3 years? 1 to 3 years, and compared to 20 years of healing is this small in the grand scheme of everything we've been through. So it's so important for me, and I'm sure that you can agree, to give ourselves grace on the days that it is harder, that maybe we don't react in the way that, we don't always react in, okay, we're gonna get through this. I tend to be kind of hard on myself, like, oh, like I'm so upset that that's the way that I reacted. But also, I then sit with myself and I'm like, what is this bringing up for me? And what can I continue to work on and grow through?
And there is sort of a balance, right? Because we have to give ourselves so much grace in order to flow with the changes that happen when we decide to heal. But there also is sort of a constant discipline that is needed when we are healing. And something that someone asked me once is, what do you think is the most important factor in determining someone's healing journey? And it 100% is how badly they want it. You have to be dedicated to healing even when it's hard, because there's gonna be things that you have to do that don't feel comfortable to you, and that's why you should do them. If there is something that feels so wildly uncomfortable to you, such as maybe apologizing to a certain person, or maybe it's stopping the people pleasing or standing up to someone, it doesn't feel bad because it's wrong. It feels bad because you're not used to it. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to, no matter what period we're in, have an unwavering commitment to the healing. That means rest when you feel called to rest. That means if you get angry, recognize what your mistake was and make it right. In all moments, doing the things that best align with that goal of healing.
Yeah, and now that you say that, I kind of think of it as when you start to exercise. When say you want to start running, not something that I am good at, but I know that in order for me to complete a whole mile, I have to run a little bit at a time. Run a little bit at a time. So when you are starting these new workouts, for example, when I first got into hot Pilates, the first day I was in there, I literally could not stand in that room for the full hour. I had to walk out. I was so embarrassed. I was like, I may never be able to walk back into this room again because how dare I walk out in the middle of the session? Like, it was so hot in there. But the more that I did it, the easier that it became. And now I can get through a whole thing with little to no breaks, with little to no periods of being extremely tired in the middle of it and not being able to finish. It's similar to how it is when it comes to healing, like you have to be able to recognize the things that you need and to keep going in order to get to the goal that you want. Just like you said, set that goal or whatever it is. I'm a big advocate of writing notes of things that I recognize about myself and then presenting it in my therapy sessions. For example, I wrote down, criticism so that I don't forget about it. I wrote down, I want to work on criticism. And then I'm going to bring it to therapy and we're going to explore what aspects of my day maybe I felt really over criticized about and maybe that person didn't mean it in that way and how can I navigate that? So you have to be your own advocate. You have to be the person within yourself that's willing to recognize those things and present it so that you can grow through it. Nobody can do it for you and nobody else is going to force you to do it. So if this is a journey that you want to be on and something that you're tired of hurting about and being in a rut, it is something that you have to do for yourself.
With that, people really are our best lesson. We've said this a few times in this podcast, but learning from our relationships and other people is a really good test to see, okay, how am I doing in my journey? For example, if we find ourselves frustrated really easily with someone in our lives, or maybe we're finding ourselves in the same kind of conflict dynamic with certain people in our lives, it's a good sign of what we need to work on. And so have a grace for yourself because you've been through a lot. I know for a fact that every person listening to this podcast has their own story, has their own set of things that they've been through. So if you take that out on other people, know that it's normal, but you are responsible for changing that behavior. So really examine your relationships, and that will be a good measure of where you need to kind of go in terms of things that you want to work on.
Yeah, I like that you mentioned examining your relationships because the way that I like to look at relationships with anybody, whether that's a partner, family member, or friend, I like to think that everybody is in my life for a reason. And if you are reacting in a certain way to somebody, maybe that person is teaching you something about yourself that you don't even realize, that you really have to look within if that person is triggering something in you. And that might help you progress into a better version of yourself. And then once that period is over, you can move on. I know we've already kind of done the relationship topic, but I think that the people around you can be such a huge part of your inner healing because like if you were just sat in a room by yourself all the time, you'd never know what exactly you have to work on just because other people aren't showing you that. So that's another thing that you can do too is really lean into the things that go on when you have those interactions with your parents, your family members, your friends, and really lean into healing those aspects of you too because you're never going to be on this earth alone. Like you're always going to have to interact with people. There are millions of people in the world. It's very rare, very, very, very rare that you will spend days and days and days on end by yourself. So learning how to operate in certain settings can be a great way to also heal within you.
I also kind of in the past year have learned that lessons come from other people, but the work does come alone. So I lived in Boston for about a year. I had two roommates. I've talked about this before, but in that year, it was really me being alone. I worked from home and then I would just spend all of my time alone. Luke and I were long distance. And in that
Mm.
year, the growth I had was so immensely rapid. And I've
Mm.
always been an independent person, but just having the time by myself with no distractions gave me the space to spend multiple hours a day doing the things that would lead to my healing. So, what does that
Mm.
mean? It means daily meditations in the morning, meditation at night, bath, journaling, spending the time with me, getting to know me, who is the most important person in my life. That is also when healing is important. And I know there's a lot of people that definitely feel lonely right now in life. And if that's you, if you feel like you don't have a lot of people in your life, know that that's the perfect opportunity to actually accelerate your healing and growth.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious to know after, you kind of moved in with Luke and then even your interactions with people, even with that within that time by yourself, did you still find that you had things to work on with your relationships with other people after you spent that time alone?
Yeah, it definitely actually I think helped because when you're with people all the time, it can be hard to see what the relationship is for what it is. But when you have the
Mm-hmm.
time apart, that's when you're actually able to sit alone and think and dissect it. So,
Mm-hmm.
Luke and I's relationship grew a lot when we were long distance because we had time to be apart and appreciate the relationship for what it was when we were together. Our relationship definitely grew for the better when we moved in together, but I think that there's a different kind of learning that happens when you spend time in solitude because you're able to almost just ruminate on how you feel in every relationship in your life, ruminate on how every reaction, how every situation comes to be. And that's, at least for me, where a lot of the healing came from.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely noticed that too, especially in the moments that I was spending by myself in my own apartment. I would tell people all the time that there were periods where I was like, wow, it's just me and these four walls. Like it is literally just me in here. I have no choice but to sit and think and marinate and really look within because what else am I doing? So I definitely feel that too in my own journey that's actually when I decided that I needed to see a therapist, when it was just me, when I was away from family. I don't know if I ever mentioned this, but I have 9 siblings. Isn't that insane?
That's
Well, let's be
crazy.
real here. I don't have 9 whole siblings. I have stepbrothers, stepsisters, pockets of different, whatever. And I really only have one brother that I share parents with. But throughout my life, I've had all of these siblings in different periods. Sometimes it was all of us living in one house. Sometimes it was just one of them living with me. And even at one point, it was just me and my dad. So when I finally moved into my own apartment and lived on my own, it really was a moment for me to just be like, okay, wow, what do I do? Where am I going to go from here? So, if you're even in that period of your life, like now might be the time to explore going to therapy, explore the things that you love and you enjoy because there's nobody telling you what you can or can't do or how you do it or whatever. At the end of the day, this is your life and your journey. You were brought here to do what you were meant to do. And now might be the time to start exploring that.
Yeah. And also, I mean, when it comes to the ebbs and flows, it's not just the ebbs, there's the flows too. And for every person, that's going to look differently. But
Yeah.
I do think that there are some constants. And I think one of those constants is definitely peace. And I think it's when you start to heal, it's having peace in just being by yourself.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean for extended periods. It just means, the feeling of being able to wake up on a Saturday morning and just sit with yourself in meditation or whatever it is. The feeling of maybe going to a workout class by yourself. Just being in solitude with yourself because you're comfortable with who you are is a huge part of the journey.
Yeah, and when you get to that point, it is a moment of gratitude too, of where you've come and how far you've been and how far you've come because like I said, I grew up with all of these siblings. I've always been an extrovert even when I lived with my dad alone, my friends were over my house all the time. So when I was finally by myself, it was hard for me to be alone for long periods of time prior to me starting my healing journey. But now that I'm on my healing journey, Mackenzie travels all the time. I'm like, you're coming home when? You sure you don't want to stay another day? Because there is a sense of peace that I do have just being in a space by myself and knowing that there's so much growth that I can just sit and reflect on. And I love her to death and I love having her in this space. But like you said, like, I don't know. There's nobody better than just me, in the relaxed feeling that I have when it is just me. And of course, once you get to that point, it is easier to welcome people in and to have a partner where you do feel like you can share a space with and have friends where you can share stories and just, find peace in other aspects of life because you started within you. And I know that I'm saying I started within me, but I was able to heal within myself and continue to keep healing within myself to be on this journey of self-discovery.
Yeah, and that continuation piece is huge. It's being
Mm-hmm.
the forever student. The second
Yeah.
that we say that we're done, that the journey is complete, it actually stops you from growing. And
Yeah.
that's not to say that you won't reach a point where you have all the tools to not be causing harm to other people. I think that is definitely very attainable, and that's what all of us should reach for, especially as we aim to have children and spouses and all of those things. But being open to the fact that life is filled with so many lessons and we have to be open to them so that we
Mm-hmm.
can keep growing and never stunt ourselves.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that's really the beautiful part of the journey. Like, imagine if we just healed ourselves right now in our 20s. Like, what the heck else would we be doing? And I always sit and think about that. I'm like, on the days where it is an ebb, I'm like, oh, this is so difficult. Or I like think like this feels so heavy. But then I sit back and think, and I'm like, but where else would I be if I wasn't continuing to learn and grow within myself and from other people and continuing on this journey? Like, there's so much more in store, and there are so many things that'll come into my life, so many things that'll come up where I'm like able to sit and reflect. And then that reflection and being on that other side brings in so much gratitude.
Yeah, and we are so young, right? There's so many years ahead, and I'm so, so, so grateful for that. And healing is not easy. You're going to have moments where you have to sit face to face with who you are and the things you've done and the things that have happened to you. And you have to come to terms with you can't change any of it. I
Mm-hmm.
heard a quote the other day that said true forgiveness means when you stop wishing that things would have been different. And that is so entirely true. And I think for us, healing in our 20s is about not taking those things that happened to us in childhood and allowing it to affect those around us. So,
Mm-hmm.
continuously being open to the lessons and receiving those hard, difficult lessons now so that in a few years, we're not going to be causing chaos on all of the people around us, but rather being pillars of peace for others.
Yeah, because like we've said before, that trickles into the type of parent you are, the type of children you have, the dynamic of your families, the dynamic of your friendships. And it's so important that now is the time for us to get to that point of peace or getting to the point of being able to navigate spaces when we are overwhelmed, when we are stressed out, because life is gonna keep lifing. So I think for us on this healing journey, our main goal is not only continuing to become the best version of ourselves, but being able to navigate situations when they come, when they
Yeah.
happen, and being able to operate them in the best way possible. And understanding too that it's not always going to be perfect and we may not always do it in the best way, but where can we go once we realize, okay, that was an ebb, I messed that up, what next? How can I grow from that? And I think that's the beauty in the reflection and all of it is knowing that we're human. We're not going to be perfect. This just because we're healing doesn't make us perfect. Just because we do the work every single day doesn't make us perfect people, but understanding that we can also share and learn and grow all together as human beings is the beautiful part of it for me. That's one thing I love to reflect on all the time.
A mistake that I've definitely made is being too hard on myself in those moments and expecting myself to always act accordingly, always to
Mm-hmm.
do everything perfectly. But really, the most important thing isn't about doing it perfectly, it's about taking accountability and asking yourself, how would my highest self act?
Yeah.
So let's just say you have a moment where you reacted not the best way. After it happens and you've cooled down, don't beat yourself up. Say,
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. I apologize for my actions. I did it because I was hurt about XYZ. Really be intentional about resolving the karma right then and there. Don't create any additional problems, but also sit back and say, how can I do better in the future? What about that
Mm-hmm.
situation triggered me? Was it a childhood situation that triggered me in that moment? And if so, how can I release those emotions so that that doesn't happen again? The key here is the accountability piece, and in knowing and trusting that as time goes on, you will do better.
Yeah, and when you are able to do better, you're able to share your experience with other people and it'll help the other people around you. Like, for example, if I react poorly to something, say we're out with friends, whatever, and I maybe don't answer somebody correctly or I get a little snippy or whatever the case is. I don't really know. I don't have an example right now, but the next morning, my favorite thing to do is to meditate, like I always say, but where I really find gratitude in the journey is after I meditate and I'm able to piece everything together. And I'm able then to, if I need to hand out apologies, I am able to explain it to that person in a way that's not just like, yeah, I'm sorry, I messed up. Like, I'm so sorry. I realized that wasn't you, that came from X, Y, and Z, and you do not deserve to ever be spoken to that way, treated that way, whatever. And I will continue working to never do that to you again. And in that moment, they're not like, yeah, whatever. Like, usually they are very graceful with you because you explored yourself and you found where that really came from. Because a lot of the times our reactions have nothing to do with other people. It usually has to do with what we have within us. And that for
Mm-hmm.
me, when I realize those moments, I'm like, gosh, thank God for this healing journey. Thank God for this journey that I've been on because that could have gone left and now it's back in the right direction.
And I do want to say, it's not like we think that because of this journey, we're better than anyone at all. Like, that's simply not the case. We don't think that we're superior or anything. It just is about being honest about the fact that every day we wake up and want to be better than we were the day before.
Exactly.
And I think we've all witnessed people in our lives that walk through life in a sort of passive way. You know, they wake up, go to work, watch TV, and go to bed. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you choose. Like, that, there's nothing wrong with that. But this is for the people that want to step out of who they were expected to be. You know, this is
Mm-hmm.
for the people that really believe that they can do something bigger with their lives.
Mm-hmm.
And we're here to be honest that healing is not always easy, but it is always worth it. And something that helps me, at least in terms of constantly staying dedicated to it, is having a specific vision. So think about something that you want in your life more than anything. Like, picture a movie in your brain of something that you want. It could be traveling the world, it could be you with your family, it could be you having your own business and being a CEO. Picture one thing and understand that in order to get that, you have to heal. If you knew that if you put in the work every single day to heal, you would get that, I promise you, you would do the work.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to be willing to do the work. Just like we said in the beginning, it is nothing about us being better. We really both had moments of, what is this? I need to change. I need to do better. What is it that we need to do? I had the moment and I was talking to my older sister, and she kind of introduced me to the therapist, the life coach, the everything. No, but to the life coach that we see now. And similar to you, you had a moment confiding in me. And that was kind of both of our moments of like, what do we do? You know, we really leaned on each other and the people around us to get us there. And we just want you guys to know that you're not alone. Like, if you ever are having any issues or you are struggling with anything and you want help and guidance and things like that, that's why this podcast is here. And we hope that you guys continue to come back every week and work to become the best version of yourself, because that's really the whole point in all of this for us, is that we share with you our journey because we see the beauty in it and we see the joy that it brings into our lives, and we see the power in healing and getting to the other side, that we hope that this story or messages continue to encourage so many of you, all of you, every single person listening to this, to continue healing and being on this journey along with us.
And if you are in an ebb period, if you feel like things in your life just don't feel right now, trust that the flow period is coming. The best thing that you can do in the moment is allow yourself to feel how you feel, and don't shy away from your intuition. If your intuition is telling you something, listen to it. Because the more you learn to follow that gut feeling, that inner voice, the higher the flow periods are going to go.
Yeah.
So trust in yourself, trust in what you're experiencing and feeling.
Yeah, it's all within you, and you have the power to heal yourself. Everybody has the power to be on the same journey that we are on, and to feel a sense of peace within yourself and the things that you've been through.
Yes, and we are always so grateful for everyone that tunes in and listens. And we hope that you just walk away feeling peaceful, knowing that so many of us are on this journey, and that you are truly, like Nyia said, never alone. We're all here together. We're all in this together, and we truly are so grateful and have love for each and every one of you.
Yeah, we love you guys so, so much. Thank you so much for tuning in again to another episode of the Love Her podcast. Love, Nyia.
Love, Janessa.
Bye.
Bye.